La abogada Margaret W. Wong tiene 45 años de experiencia en leyes de inmigración y ha sido premiada en múltiples ocasiones como una de las mejores abogadas del país. Maneja todo tipo de casos migratorios a nivel nacional y tiene oficinas en 9 ciudades: Cleveland, Nueva York, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, Columbus, Raleigh, North Carolina, Chicago y Minneapolis. No hay caso de inmigración que no podamos manejar. Es la abogada Margaret Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. 216-259-8897. 216-259-8897.
Yo soy Margaret Wong.
Buenos días, bienvenidos a este espacio Camino del Inmigrante con la abogada Margaret Wong, más de 45 años defendiendo a los inmigrantes con pasión en los Estados Unidos, como cada miércoles respondiendo sus preguntas migratorias. Y nosotros recibimos en este momento a nuestros anfitriones Juan Carlos Brando y la abogada Margaret Wong. Buenos días, bienvenidos a este miércoles.
Buenos días, Alicia. Good morning, Ms. Wong. How are you doing today?
I'm very good and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bueno, así es. Buenos días, abogada. No la habíamos visto en este año. Bueno, feliz año nuevo, ¿verdad? Siempre en estas primeras semanas de enero uno aprovecha para felicitar. Y Juan Carlos, abogada, un tema bastante bueno el día de hoy con las buenas noticias de que Haití, Nicaragua y Cuba se unen al parol humanitario que en octubre pasado dio el presidente de los Estados Unidos, Joe Biden, al país de Venezuela y mantiene a Venezuela también bajo ese beneficio migratorio para, según sus palabras, detener un poco el flujo de inmigrantes que cruza de manera ilegal por la frontera.
Okay, Ms. Wong, so we would like to start talking about what is going on with new parole for people from Nicaragua, from Cuba, and about the parole for Venezuelans as well.
Yes. So basically, America now, to stop the sudden surge, because right now there's so many people. In the olden days, it's more the Mexicans. They come undocumented. They go. There's no line, and they know enough just to pay a coyote to come up to work, and then they go back to work. So through the 90s. The new law then came in October 96, effective in April 97. And then the 1-year bar came in April 98, saying that if you leave and come back after April of 98, you never get a green card. You won't get the work permit. So the perm bar started at that time. But that's more against the Mexicans because in those days, Central Americans, they don't come up as much. And even those they come up, the Honduras, they have TPS because of Hurricane Mitch. But then through the years, the Central Americans keep coming up. But Guatemalans, they have indigenous. So, but there's more the 3 countries in the Central America. In the past 10, actually in the 70s, you see a lot of Chileans and the Nicaraguans because of the government and stuff like that, but they were all like asylum, parole in. So parole in the Vietnam War era, I came to America in 69 at the height of the Vietnam War era with Europe, Second World War was 45. So in those days, anytime you got asylum, you came to America as a refugee, but from Vietnam people, they go to Thailand, refugee camp. That's why you see a lot of people, Vietnamese people who are in the 50s, they're born in Thailand because they're born in refugee. There's no birth certificate. It was really a very bad humanitarian situation. So from that, they come to America with refugee. As a refugee, you get a lot of legal aids, like food stamps. And American people got mad in the 70s. Same with the Chileans and the people who got refugee status. So slowly they made them into parole. So in those days, parole means that you are technically coming in as a refugee, but you are not, because parole, you are not entitled to benefits. But that was in the 70s and 80s. But then the Polish sailors, they jumped ship because Poland became very bad communist. And then you have Hungarians, but of course Hungary, but Poland and Hungary used to fight against each other. But then the Polish people in the year 2000s want to be Hungarians because they're right next to each other because they get EU passport. they get the passport with ESTA, the 90 days. So they'll, even though they're Polish, they'll say they're Hungarians because they got the 90. So I can give you the evolution of different countries. But in America, in the 70s and even 80s, it's very much region. In the olden days, it's Eastern region, Western region, right? That's why you see a lot of older immigrants, they're all white people. Until people like us who came in the 60s and 70s, and the Filipino people came in the 40s because of the Second World War. But they all go back because in the olden days, people like us, like the Chinese who came in the 30s and 40s because of Christianity, the Christians that bring a lot of these orphans, they all go back. So in the early days, they want to service the country because China is in the throes of the civil war between communists and nationalist party, and that's where I came from. So now talking about the parole through the years evolved because then the Honduras have TPS, and then the El Salvador have TPS, and the Yemen have TPS, and then all these countries through the years under Bush they started to. So America more and more immigration is becoming political. Cuba, dry soil, wet soil, but then Trump came in and changed all that, and then you have the children of Cubans who came up and have different ideas from the old Cubans, the old Chinese like us who have different ideas, right? Because we went through the communist regime, we went through the socialist regime. So through the years, parole means if I file for my green card, I can get a parole. So I can visit home. If I file asylum, maybe not. If I file a TPS, I can also do a parole. So parole through the years, the meaning change. Some parole, you can adjust status to that. If you marry an American or your children become 21, some parole you cannot. Now come to this answer of the parole, the new law that just came in. New laws are coming every day. Biden keeps saying people who came to America after May of 2021 needs to be deported. They're not deported. Biden keeps saying May after 2022 needs to be deported. They fired the head of the department, the CBP department, but they did not. It's just too many people. So now they're starting saying that Ukrainian, you can come on parole. And it worked so well, remain in America, reunited with family. And then they started giving the Venezuelans parole, 24,000. Now it's increased to 30,000. First, as they took off the number, now they give it to 30. Who knows? Because it's like a secret, right? And now the 3 more countries, they started. But who knows? But basically, the law remains the same. Parole means that you can legal entry. You could apply for work permit. Parole is not, it's not like an H-1B. H-1B, you don't need a work permit. Parole, you need to separately apply for a work permit. All right. So now they're starting with these 3 countries on parole, meaning that you couldn't just go to Mexico and be dangerous because Mexico, as you know, Mexican knowing that Biden is coming to visit Monday, today is Wednesday, they arrested the son of Al Pacino. I mean, those of you who watch Netflix knows it's awesome, horrible drug people. Now they're doing these horse drugs. So that's why I love this immigration. You don't even need to know the nuances. Just look at the newspaper every day. You trace it, right? Pope Benedict just died, the retired Pope. The new Pope now is the only Pope that's living now because it's weird to have 2 popes around, one retired. So now, how does these popes come to America? Do they even need a visa? They are Pope. I mean, they're the leader of the biggest church in the world. Do they? Of course they need a visa, right? So that's what lawyers like us do. We get people visas, regardless they're Pope, there are no Schwarzenegger, they're people like us, right? So that's one thing nice. So follow the newspaper, read every day the articles, and follow the inflow of people. Another thing that I really need the American public to understand is that the last 10 years, the narrative have changed. There was a time that people think, oh, people came to America because of fear. Of course, there's fear, but more than that, because of wars, because people are poor. Once they get papers, and I have 45 years of people, more than 40, I'm approaching 50 now, I'm 73 years old, more than 45, 50 years of working experience. Once you give these people a chance, now I see, because I know everybody's tax return is my job to know, to make sure they file tax, to make sure they report only their children and not nieces and nephews. you should see how successful in the past 10 years, how a lot of these immigrants who came, those are my grandchildren's generation or my children's generation, not so much the older immigrants like us. They're becoming so successful, even if they had no papers. They're starting construction, they're doing nail salons, they get jobs working as Amazon, and Amazon now is paying like $22, $25 an hour, $18 an hour. Minimum wage now is like $15 an hour. So the narrative is changing, and America needs to change with it. So the parole means that you need to sign the I-134. There's a new form I-134 that just came out. You could still use the old one until March. After March of 2023, I think, you could, so go to the USCIS, look at the new form. So same law, you just need someone to do the I-134, but you have to come through air and not come through Mexico. If you come through Mexico, they won't let you come in, or they won't let you apply for asylum. So what good is coming to America with no papers, and they'll kick you out?
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Mr. Juan.
Yeah, I've been sick for.
Sorry. With a new baby.
Es duro.
That's right.
Sin dormir.
That's right. That's nice, because now you have both a son and a daughter. Everybody loves sons, so now you have a son, you have a daughter.
Así es.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, voy a contestar la pregunta. Comenzamos hablando un poco acerca de lo que son los paroles. Ahora los paroles para Nicaragua, para Cuba, la extensión del parole para Venezuela, y nos dice la abogada pues que un parole es un permiso, es algo muy especial que lo han otorgado desde hace muchos años, desde los años 70 incluso, para personas asiáticas, incluso para personas de Polonia. Lo utilizaron algún tiempo atrás. Y dependiendo de los países, ahora es algo que ha funcionado muy bien, porque ha funcionado para la gente que está sufriendo en Ucrania, para los refugiados de Afganistán. Han sido muchas formas como el parole ha podido beneficiar a mucha gente. Ha cambiado a través de los años, ha cambiado a través de mucho tiempo. Las personas, para ellos tener un permiso de trabajo con un parole, pueden tener un permiso de trabajo de inmediato y lo pueden solicitar a inmigración, a diferencia de una H1B, que no puedes tener un permiso de trabajo mientras está tramitándose tu H1B, porque es una visa basada en el trabajo. Pero en el caso de los paroles, es un permiso para que tú puedas entrar a los Estados Unidos, que puedas estar aquí legalmente y que ese patrocinador pueda decir que quiere que tú estés aquí en el país y brindarte la protección y la ayuda económica para que tú estés dentro de los Estados Unidos. Si usted quiere saber de esto, no es ni siquiera tan necesario que usted estudie las leyes migratorias o que hable con abogados, porque la realidad es que todo está en las noticias. En las noticias se está viendo todo esto, están muy actualizados, incluso más actualizados que muchos abogados. Y nos dice la abogada que usted manténgase pendiente de las noticias, y lo que usted no entienda puede preguntárselo a los abogados. Pero que las noticias están manteniendo a la gente siempre al día con respecto al tema de la inmigración. Y el tema de los paroles es una nueva modalidad que están aplicando mucho ahora y que por lo menos le da derecho a la gente a estar aquí en los Estados Unidos sin que los vayan a molestar cuando vienen de un país donde están pasando situaciones con sus gobiernos, que son gobiernos de tiranías, gobiernos dictatoriales, gobiernos comunistas, que no le permiten a las personas desarrollarse como tal. Alicia.
Excelente. Y nosotros precisamente estábamos viendo las diferentes preguntas que nos llegan, Juan Carlos. Qué bueno, entonces, que con todos estos alivios, de una u otra forma, el gobierno está tratando de frenar ese descontrol que existe con la inmigración, con todas estas nuevas alternativas de forma legal que puedan venir a los Estados Unidos. Usted recuerde que nosotros estamos aquí para responder todas sus preguntas migratorias, y que si nos está viendo recomiendo, usted puede tener la confianza también de llamarnos en tan solo marcar al 216-259-8897. 216-259-8897 y que la abogada Margaret W en estos más de 45 años ha crecido muchísimo y tenemos oficinas en Nashville, en Nueva York. También tenemos oficinas, por supuesto, que en Cleveland, aquí en Georgia, en Atlanta, en Columbus, en Memphis, en Minneapolis, en Raleigh, North Carolina. Y usted puede llamarnos con tan solo marcar el 216-259-8897. Es la abogada Margaret W, la que sí sabe de inmigración. En este momento comenzamos a recibir sus preguntas y nos dice Tracy Peralta: mi mamá entró a los Estados Unidos el 4 de enero. Su visa de turista se vence. Ella está por turismo, se regresa a nuestro país el 8 de febrero. Y la pregunta es, la I-94 se la dieron por 6 meses. ¿Debería ella pedir alguna extensión al vencer su visa?
Okay, Ms. Wong, this is an interesting question. This person entered in the United States on a tourist visa on January the 4th. The thing is that her
Interesting.
visa, her tourist visa is expiring on January the 31st.
Ooh.
But she was given 6 months I-94. Should she file an extension?
No. Let me explain. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
The 3 things you need always as a foreign person, right? First is your international passport. When you are in America, we don't need a passport. You go to the airport, you are stopped, traffic, you show a driver's license. But in most countries, they need their own ID, like a driver's license. So in America, to do international travel, you need a passport. The stamp on the visa, that's what she's saying, is also called visa. So what she's saying is that my tourist, the B1, B2, normally there's a M next to it, and then B1-B2 expires in March 31st. She's very smart because she came to America 3 weeks before the expiration. As long as you come to America now, in the olden days, sometimes in some bad area like Detroit, Chicago, they're tough. They'll look at it and they'll say, oh, you only have 3 weeks left. So they'll only give you 3 weeks. But in this case, I don't know what airport he came through. She's lucky she got 6 months, which really is the law. Unless there's something extraordinary, they should give you 6 months. So once you're in America, the I-94, which is now in computer, the ICE locator, they give you 6 months. So your extension in America applies to 6 months. Your visa allows entry. So there are 3 things: international passport to allow you to go on an airplane or go on a boat, on a cruise to come to America, international. If Americans go to Japan, go to Hong Kong, you also need a passport. The visa stamped on your passport, we are lucky because as American citizens, you don't need to get visas to go to France, to go on a cruise. But if you're like my mom, before she passed, has only a green card. She doesn't want to be a citizen because as a Chinese, it's difficult to maintain. They won't give you a Chinese passport if you became an American citizen. So every time I go somewhere with her, because she loves to travel, I have to apply for a visa. So as a green card holder going to Paris for 5 days, you need a visa. As a green card holder from China to go to Brazil, you need a visa. And that even like 10 years ago, the visa 20 years ago was like $180. I'm like, what, $180 for 5 days? And then when I sort of complained to the Brazilian embassy in New York, they say, well, Brazilians coming to America also have to pay $180. That's why it's like a retaliation. But I think it's stupid because each country needs to increase trade and tourism. That's how they make money, right? So in your case, no, you don't need to do an extension now. Now, on the other hand, I'm glad you asked that question. There's a new law that just came out 3 weeks ago, and you may want to change your mind, is if you file a visa extension, so your visa expired, you don't need an extension. So for example, now you go back. I'm not encouraging you, I'm just giving you advice. Now, so for example, you go back because before your visa expired or after the visa expired, but before your 6 month, you can apply for new visa without an interview, which is what you're scared about. Because what you're scared about is now you go back, they won't give you a new one. then you cannot come back. That's why you're worried. Should I stay here and not leave? Worried about not coming back. Biden just came out with this new thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So whatever country you're from, go to the USDIS. What country is she from? She didn't say. No problem.
She doesn't say.
Okay, no problem. It could be from Colombia. There's a lot of Colombians coming up and stuff like that. Because it's a legal entry. So go to USDOS, check your country. So if you apply for visa waiver, do you need to be timely filed? Timely filed means that, for example, my visa expires on January 31st. If I file and do the Dropbox before January 31st, do I need an interview? If not, my advice is then either you stay here and do an extension, but it'll be hard to get a new visa, or you need to leave the country, do the visa interview, and do another 10-year tourist visa and come back. So these are my advice, and I'm glad you asked that question because that gives me a chance to talk about the new thing that just started. Because when Trump came in, Trump took away the no interview policy, which means that every time my visa expired, I have to go back and apply. But what happened? I've stayed here for 5 months. They won't give me a new one. That's why a lot of people are stuck here. They're scared to go back. Now this policy just came back under Biden. But check it.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Bueno, con respecto a la pregunta de Tracy, la abogada nos decía que, el tener una visa es una gran ventaja que tienen las personas para poder entrar a los Estados Unidos. Hay varios tipos de visa. Puede ser visa de turista, como lo es en este caso. Cuando usted ya entra a los Estados Unidos, para usted entrar aquí, tiene que entrar con una visa. Si no, si a su país le exigen la visa, usted tiene que entrar con la visa y obviamente con el pasaporte. Para viajar dentro de los Estados Unidos usted no necesita la visa, pero para entrar a los Estados Unidos sí necesita esa visa. Ahora, lo siguiente que usted debe tener en consideración es que si usted está aquí en los Estados Unidos y usted quiere quedarse los 6 meses, usted podría quedarse, usted podría solicitar esa extensión, pero el problema es que su visa está expirando. Entonces usted ahora mismo puede hacer la solicitud de la extensión o de la renovación de su visa de turista antes del 31 de enero, para que usted pueda tener como esa posibilidad de renovar la visa, que la visa esté
¿Estamos ahora recibiendo parte de la pregunta, Juan?
Sí, estamos recibiendo parte de las preguntas, pero lo que nos dice la abogada es como, si la persona está aquí en los Estados Unidos, si la persona está aquí dentro del país, trate de hacer la extensión, envíelo por Dropbox y que ya usted al final lo que tiene que hacer es que si le llega la oportunidad de hacer la renovación, a usted le van a extender la visa, por ese tiempo uno va a tener que ir a la entrevista. Y si no, salga del país antes de esa fecha, antes de que se le venza la visa, aunque le hayan dado una I-94 por más tiempo, haga el trámite para la extensión de la visa, o sea, para la renovación de la visa en su país y regrese ya después con una visa nueva de 10 años.
Excelente respuesta, Juan Carlos, y una pregunta, así como lo dice la abogada, bastante interesante, porque muchas veces las personas no saben qué hacer en ese sentido. Entonces, hacer lo correcto es lo que le va a dar realmente la permanencia y la nueva renovación de su visa cuando usted decida hacerlo. Siga mandando sus preguntas al Facebook. En este momento estamos en vivo con ustedes, la abogada Margaret W, con más de 45 años, ejerciendo la defensa migratoria con pasión, está con nosotros en vivo. Y usted también en este momento puede marcarnos al 216-259-8897, 216-259-8897. Es el número que tiene que marcar y desde cualquier parte del mundo nosotros le podemos contestar. Varios idiomas se hablan en la oficina de la abogada, entonces con eso usted no va a tener ningún tipo de problema. Nosotros seguimos recibiendo sus preguntas a través de este Facebook Live. Aprovechar la experiencia de la abogada Margaret W y nos dicen por aquí, mandé un formulario a la Army y me dijeron que podía ingresar, pero que tenía que ir a inmigración a solicitar una green card primero. ¿Hay algún riesgo de ser deportado por solicitarla?
Okay, Ms. Wong, this is a weird question. I sent a form to the Army. They told me that I could join them, but that I had to go to immigration and file for the green card before I do the Army process. Is there a risk to be deported if I request that
Okay,
green
that's
card? Or
right.
how-
That's a very good question. What they're saying is that if you are willing to risk for your country, for your life, so there's a law in the military saying that if I join the military, they could expedite my citizenship, maybe, maybe not. And also they'll give my parents and my children a PIP, parole in place, so they could also, it doesn't mean they will get a green card, it only means that if you came illegally, there's a parole in place. There's also like under years and years ago, but Trump took it away, is that if you have no papers and our country needs you, your language skills or your medical skills, they should be able to give you a green card and a fast citizenship. You don't have to wait for 5 years or 3 years or whatever. Right now, so it depends. Does the military need you? I would personally go talk to the military. Depends, because there are 3 branches of military. The Marine, and including the Marines and the National Guard. So nowadays, my understanding is the military wants you to at least have a work permit before they would even talk to you. I would not just send them a letter or email. I would talk to the recruiters. Depending on how much they want you, they'll help you. But talk to them. Don't just send them letters. If you want something, it's like you want to chase after this girl to marry you. You need to chase them. You couldn't just send them a letter.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. Sí, nos dice la abogada Alicia que en este caso es una pregunta muy interesante porque la persona quiere formar parte del Army de los Estados Unidos, quiere defender la bandera de este país, quiere defender los intereses de este país y pelear por él. Y lo que tiene que hacer es demostrarle al país que usted quiere hacerlo y que quiere hacerlo de forma legal. Si usted quiere realmente hacerlo, hable con la gente del Army, no solamente le envíe cartas, no solamente llene la forma, sino trate de que usted haga todo el proceso para que ellos vean que usted sí quiere pelear por este país. Y seguramente ellos le van a dar alguna respuesta, pero no se conforme solamente con enviar cartas o con hacer un formulario, sino trate de mostrarse a ellos para que ellos vean el interés que usted tiene y que usted realmente sí está dispuesto. Como con una novia usted no la va a conquistar nada con una carta, usted la va a conquistar es con el interés que usted le muestra de que usted quiere estar con él.
Bueno, eso es una realidad, Juan Carlos, eso es así. Nosotros seguimos recibiendo sus preguntas a través de este Facebook Live que hacemos cada miércoles como un servicio a la comunidad de la firma de abogados Margaret W y Asociados en español, defendiendo a los inmigrantes con pasión. Tanto hoy miércoles como mañana jueves, la abogada siempre se conecta 30 minutos con todos ustedes para poder satisfacer sus preguntas migratorias totalmente gratis. No cuesta absolutamente nada. Y si usted quiere una cita de manera más personal, solo tiene que llamar al 216-259-8897, 216-259-8897, como dice la abogada, y eso es muy cierto. El tiempo de la inmigración es ahora. Vamos a aprovechar y en estos años hacer nuestro proceso migratorio. 216-259-8897. Seguimos recibiendo preguntas a través de este Facebook Live. Así es. Y recuerde que nosotros tenemos oficinas en 9 estados del territorio de los Estados Unidos. Y nos preguntan, si me divorcio, abogada, ¿en qué tiempo es prudente casarme y pedir a alguien? Y si me casé, agregamos esa pregunta, si esta persona se casó en otro país, en este caso Cuba, ¿tiene que divorciarse en Cuba o este proceso de divorcio puede hacerse aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Okay, Ms. Wong, if I obtained my green card through marriage, I got divorced, in how long would it be prudent to get married again
9
and
months.
file for someone else?
Okay, I would not. It should be at least 6 to 9 months. How did you meet? How did you fall in love? Number one. Number two is, if you already got the first green card, even after divorce, you can protect that green card. You don't need to remarry someone else to get the green card. But if you never got the first green card, now you're remarried, you're marrying a new guy or woman to get the green card, I will wait for 9 months. Number one. Number two is make sure you look at the first marriage. Don't assume, oh, I married a new girl or guy, I don't need to prove. The whole thing is always that first marriage, always. So make sure you, when you file a tax return, you still say married and separate. When you file for credit card, saying divorce or married, because normally if it's a paper contract marriage, you don't say you're married, you say you're single. Always maintain you were married and you're now divorced, you married a new person. If you had filed for the I-130/45, remember to withdraw that case, so you don't have to go to interview. Because if there's any evidence that is a 204C issue, 204C means that it's only for papers, the second marriage will be a problem. So don't assume. These are very frequent cases. I see a lot of them and I feel sorry for them because they just don't know. They figure, oh, I'll just divorce her and marry someone else. You know, it's easy, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, Ms. Wong, this person, I think she got the green card through the prior marriage.
Good job. So you don't need to remarry. File. So the day of the final divorce, ask your lawyer to walk it through. That means you save 60 days of the final divorce judgment entry. The second day, you amend your 751 into a divorce case, and then explain the bona fides of the marriage, but change the joint filing into a separate filing, a single filing. You don't need to marry someone else to get a new green card.
No, but now let's say it's me. I got married. I got my green card.
I hope you don't, but that's okay.
Now I want to give. Now I want to petition someone.
Oh, no. Whoa. I got it. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, no. That's totally wrong. So if you marry someone to get a green card, I don't recommend you to marry. You could marry. Okay, there are two questions. When can I marry someone else to prove bona fideness? That means it's real, 9 months. The question in this case is, I got my green card through marriage. Now I want to marry someone else before I become a citizen. Absolutely not. So what you need to do is do the 5-year citizen instead of a 3-year citizen. After you get a citizen, marry someone, because the law frowns on 5-year cases. So I got my green card. If I marry someone else in less than 5 years and sponsor her, they're going to look back to your old green card. That's why I always recommend become a citizen first, or wait for another 6, 7, 8 years. Keep bona fideness. That's a problem. America hates cases like this, and especially it's not fair. They look at Eastern Europeans, Bulgaria, Romania, in the olden days, Poland, but that's 30 years ago now, no more, because Poland's very Catholic. They also look at these cases from India, not so much from Turkey. There's certain Nigeria, Ghana is the new Nigeria. It's not fair because there are true cases like that, but they do look at this.
Okay.
Do not marry until either become a citizen or more than after 5 years from the green card, not from the divorce. These are serious. I'm glad you asked me. Okay, got it. I didn't know Spanish people know this. This is more Eastern European, and yeah.
They are too smart. I know that.
Very smart, yeah.
I know that in Miami there were some people from Cuba.
Yeah, it's more the Cubans, the Haitians.
Right? They used to get married and remarried and married again 2, 3, 4 times.
That's
just
right.
to use green cards.
That's right. Because in the olden days, they don't check the picture. That's why now for marriage cases, I always tell my paralegal that that's my marriage case. It's a marriage case. It's the man is a citizen, because now they require that one picture. And a lot of young lawyers say, why do you want a picture of a citizen? They're out of sight of Homeland Security, is to make sure that man, when you go to interview, it's the man that's sponsored, because sometimes they change men or the woman, but yeah. I didn't know Latino, because normally it's not more the Colombians, Peruvians, they know this, but not so much, maybe a little bit Central, but normally not Mexican, because they're Catholics. They're very serious about this, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be coming up with I've been doing it for so long. These are profile. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, thank you so
Oh,
much.
I can give you stories about this. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah. Or the Chinese, like the stepfather will marry. Oh no, they're not sleeping together. It's just for paper, you know. So American
Yes.
Embassy and Kwanzaa will look at the father and mother. So now there's a lot of Chinese who immigrated to Panama, Venezuela because they make money. They own 2 restaurants and stuff. Whenever I do that, children now who became citizen, they're on the 30s. So I said, oh, we have parents they're from China, but they became, you know, Panamanian. Or, oh, the parents' name are different. Immediately I know because they're not lying to America. They're lying to the immigration officials when they went to South America. Because after the 60s, a lot of Chinese people went to all these countries and really made some good money from there. That's history.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ok, Alicia, bueno, nos dice la abogada que, bueno, desafortunadamente estos son casos muy comunes y que son completamente inapropiados, ¿no? Cuando una persona obtiene la green card por medio de matrimonio y luego quiere casarse otra vez, pues esto es algo que inmigración le va a colocar el ojo, porque no es justo que mientras otros hacen las cosas correctamente, algunos estén sacando provecho de un matrimonio para obtener una green card o aprovecharse de los sentimientos de alguien más para obtener un beneficio de una green card. Pero si usted lo ha hecho, usted se casó legalmente por los motivos correctos, tuvo hijos, obtuvo la green card, luego se divorció, tiene que contar aproximadamente unos 6, 7 años después de obtener la green card para que usted pueda volver a casarse y volver a pedir a alguien más, siempre que usted pueda probar que los matrimonios fueron de buena fe.
Bueno, así es, la gente se enamora y se desenamora. En el corazón no manda nadie. Los latinos somos un poco enamorados, abogada. En este momento usted...
Alicia is saying that people from Latin America, especially from the Caribbean, are very likely to fall in love very fast.
Fast, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
They're hot. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Romantic.
Usted puede
Okay.
seguir haciendo sus preguntas al 216-259-8897. ¿Cómo estamos de tiempo? ¿Nos da el chance?
Ya no fuimos.
Nos fuimos. Recuerde que mañana usted puede seguir con este tema, realmente muchos temas de inmigración súper interesantes y usted tiene que estar informado. Mañana a las 12:30, Juan Carlos Brando, la abogada Margaret W, se conecta esta vez en el Facebook en inglés. Los dos hablan un inglés que lo entendemos, ¿verdad? Hasta lo que no hablamos muy bien el inglés, para hacer sus preguntas migratorias. La cita es mañana a las 12:30. Nosotros tenemos una cita con usted el próximo miércoles a las 9:30 de la mañana en su espacio, Camino del Inmigrante. Muchísimas gracias, abogada Margaret. Muchísimas gracias, Juan Carlos.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much, Miss Wong. I'll see you tomorrow. And, bueno, Alicia, muchísimas gracias también por el excelente trabajo. Y a toda nuestra audiencia, gracias por estar ahí. Conéctense con nosotros el día de mañana a las 12:30 del mediodía en el canal en inglés con la abogada Margaret W. Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. 216-259-8897, 216-259-8897, la abogada Margaret Wong, la que sí sabe de inmigración. Hasta la próxima.